But Canada now has its first ever fully functional, fully Canadian electric vehicle.
Finally from Europe, where Norway is changing the rules of the road. In a country fueled by oil, electric vehicles now outnumber gas-powered cars.
Some countries are absolutely nailing the EV race, while others are still stuck, debating whether charging stations are worth the effort.
The latest Chinese EV brand to have Australia in its sights.
Today we're diving into the countries that are winning the EV race, figuring out what they're doing right, and maybe throwing a little shade at the ones dragging their feet. Let's jump in and see who's leading the charge. Number 1, Norway. Norway is absolutely crushing the electric vehicle EV game. While the rest of us are still debating whether we should buy an EV or stick with our gas guzzlers, Norway has gone full into the future. Seriously, 8 out of 10 cars sold there are electric. Yup, 80%. So how did they pull this off? Perks. Lots of perks.
Good morning. Well, what if you could buy a car that produces zero emissions and where the fuel, the parking, and the driving is basically free?
EVs in Norway come with no taxes, free tolls, cheap parking, and even discounts on ferries. Oh, and you can use bus lanes too. It's like VIP treatment for EV drivers. And don't even worry about charging. Their network is everywhere. Plug in your car while grabbing coffee and boom, you're set. And let's not forget, Norway's electricity is nearly 100% renewable thanks to all their hydroelectric power.
Like and subscribe right now and you'll have amazing luck for the rest of the week.
They've made driving electric not just smart, but also easy. While Norway's zipping around in Teslas and Nissan Leafs, the rest of us are still trying to figure out how to make EVs cool. Honestly, we've got catching up to do. Number 2. Iceland. Iceland is also making serious moves in the electric vehicle EV world, and it's no surprise. With almost 55% of new cars sold being electric, the country is showing how it's done. For starters, Iceland runs almost entirely on renewable energy, thanks to its abundant hydropower and geothermal resources. This means charging an EV here is not only affordable, but also super clean. The government has been smart about it too, offering generous tax breaks and incentives to make EVs an easy choice. No import taxes, no VAT on electric cars, and subsidies for home charging stations. All this has helped Icelanders embrace the switch. And speaking of charging, Iceland has rapidly expanded its charging infrastructure. You'll find stations all over the country, from urban areas to more remote spots near those iconic, endless landscapes. Whether you're in Reykjavik or heading out on the ring road, you're covered. Iceland's commitment to sustainability and reducing emissions makes it a natural leader in the EV space. They're quietly building a future where driving electric is the norm, not the exception. Number 3. Sweden. Sweden is quietly transforming its roads with electric vehicles. And it's not just hype, it's part of their culture of sustainability. Nearly half of all new car sales in the country are either fully electric or plug-in hybrids, and the numbers keep rising. Swedes have a knack for combining practicality with eco-conscious choices, and EVs fit right into their lifestyle. A big part of this shift is Sweden's focus on renewable energy, with hydropower, wind, and even some nuclear energy powering the grid. EVs in Sweden run on some of the cleanest electricity available. This isn't just about reducing emissions, it's about making every charge guilt-free and affordable. On top of that, Sweden has introduced smart policies to nudge people toward EV. Their bonus-malus system rewards drivers who choose green vehicles with cash incentives while taxing high-emission cars. It's a simple yet effective way to encourage change. Charging? No problem. Sweden has an impressive charging infrastructure, with networks covering even remote regions. Number 4. Netherlands. The Netherlands has taken its love for bikes and canals and extended it to electric vehicles. The Dutch are all about efficiency, and EVs fit perfectly into their vision for a cleaner, greener future. One of the biggest factors driving EV adoption in the Netherlands is their dedication to infrastructure. The country boasts one of the densest charging networks in the world, with charging stations conveniently located along highways, in cities, and even in rural areas. You're never far from a plug, making it easy for Dutch drivers to ditch their gas car. Government policies also play a huge role. The Netherlands offers tax benefits, subsidies, and reduced registration fees for EV owners. Plus, companies get incentives for switching their fleets to electric, which has helped EVs become a common sight on Dutch roads. The Dutch are also pioneers of innovation. They're building solar-powered car parks and investing in electric public transportation. Number 5. Finland. Finland is quietly making big moves with electric vehicles. About 1 in 3 new cars sold in the country is electric or a plug-in hybrid, and the numbers are only going up. The Finns aren't rushing into it. They're doing what they do best, making smart, steady progress while keeping things practical. One reason EVs are growing so fast in Finland is their clean energy supply. Most of the electricity here comes from renewables like wind and water, along with nuclear power. This makes charging an EV super affordable and good for the environment. The government has also made it easier to go electric. They're offering cash incentives when you buy an EV, cutting taxes on electric cars, and even helping people install home chargers. On top of that, Finland's building more charging stations, so even if you're driving through snowy, far-off villages, you won't get stuck without a charge. Number 6. Denmark. When you think of Denmark, you might picture wind turbines, modern architecture, and bikes everywhere. But here's the new addition. Electric vehicles are quickly becoming a symbol of Denmark's green future. In fact, 30% of all new cars sold in the country are electric or plug-in hybrid. So, what's driving this transformation? It starts with Denmark's reliance on wind power. This isn't just a country with clean energy, it's practically built on it. Wind turbines generate a massive portion of Denmark's electricity, making EVs an obvious choice for eco-conscious drivers. Charging a car here is cleaner than most countries can dream of. Then there's the government's push. They've slashed taxes on EVs, provided financial incentives, and invested heavily in a charging network that stretches across the nation. Whether you're in the bustling streets of Copenhagen or driving through the quiet countryside, finding a charging station is easy. For Denmark, adopting EVs isn't about following trend. It's about staying true to their sustainable roots while planning for a future that works for both people and the planet. Number 7. Germany. Germany, the land of Autobahns and iconic car brands, is shifting gears, literally. Known for its engineering excellence, the country is now steering toward an electric future. In 2023, many new car sales in Germany were electric or plug-in hybrids, and the momentum is only growing. What's driving this? For one, Germany has gone all in on renewable energy. With a grid increasingly powered by wind and solar, charging an EV here aligns perfectly with their push for a cleaner, greener future. It's not just about the cars, it's about transforming the entire energy system. The government is also backing the shift with significant incentives. Buyers can receive subsidies of up to 6,000 euros on EVs, along with tax exemptions and reduced company car tax. Combine this with a rapidly expanding network of fast chargers, and going electric in Germany is more practical than ever. Germany's legendary automakers like Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes are leading the charge with EVs. For a country that built its identity on cars, the transition to electric is as ambitious as it is impressive. Number 8. United Kingdom. Imagine a country where the roads are buzzing with quiet, sleek electric cars instead of noisy petrol engines. That's the United Kingdom right now, leading its own EV revolution. By 2030, you won't even be able to buy a new petrol or diesel car here. Bold, definitely. But the UK is putting its money where its mouth is. The transformation is being fueled by an explosion of charging stations. You'll find them everywhere, at motorway service stations, supermarkets, and even tucked away in village pubs. Plus, fast chargers are turning 30-minute coffee breaks into full battery boosts. Automakers like Jaguar and Rolls-Royce are reinventing their brands for the electric era. Even iconic double-decker buses are going green. This isn't just about reducing emissions, it's about rethinking the future of transport. From London's bustling streets to Scotland's remote highlands, the UK is proving that going electric can be both practical and ambitious. Number 9. France. Are the French ditching their beloved diesel cars for sleek, quiet EVs? Well, kinda. The French are warming up to EVs, just like they warm up baguettes slowly, but when it's done, it's perfect. One reason for this shift, the bonus écologique. It's basically a bribe from the government to get you to buy an EV. You can pocket up to 7,000 euros for choosing electric instead of sticking to your smoke-belching diesel. Oh, and they're also ramping up charging stations, so you can plug in your Tesla while sipping coffee at a cafe. But, of course, it's not all smooth driving. France has a big problem. Most of their EV batteries come from China. So, while the roads are cleaner, the supply chain, not so much. Number 10. China. China is everywhere in the electric vehicle conversation. But despite producing more EVs than anyone else and owning the largest charging network, they're still playing catch-up when it comes to quality. Sure, they're selling millions of EVs, but most of them are budget-friendly models like the Wuling Hongguang Mini EV, which costs less than a fancy iPhone. Practical? Yes. Are they on par with Norway's Teslas and Audis? Not really. Why is China lagging behind countries like Norway in terms of adoption rates? It's not the infrastructure. That part's solid. It's about trust and innovation. The government has thrown huge subsidies into the EV market, but many domestic models are cheap and lack the performance or reliability of Western brands. Plus, electric luxury cars, which dominate in places like Norway, are still out of reach for the average Chinese consumer. China's EV revolution is all about numbers over quality. Number 11, United States. The United States and electric vehicles have a, complicated relation. On one hand, Tesla was born here, and it's practically the poster child for the global EV revolution. On the other hand, only around 7 to 8% of new car sales are fully electric. For a country that loves being number one, the US is seriously lagging behind places like Norway, where EVs practically outnumber the people. So, what's the holdup? First, let's talk infrastructure. While states like California are building charging stations like crazy, huge parts of the country are still stuck with a good luck finding a charger vibe. Long road trips, better bring a gas backup. Then there's the cultural factor. Americans love their big trucks and SUVs, and convincing them to trade a roaring engine for a silent EV is like asking them to give up football. It's not happening overnight. But it's not all bad. Federal incentives are growing, companies like Ford and GM are finally catching up, and EV sales are increasing. The US has potential. It just needs to stop arguing about it and start plugging in. Number 12, Canada. Canada and electric vehicles are slowly getting acquainted, but it's not exactly love at first charge. While EV adoption is growing, only around 8 to 10% of new car sales are electric, which puts Canada well behind leaders like Norway or even its neighbor, the US. So, what's the deal? First off, Canada's size is a challenge. This is a country where you can drive for hours without seeing a gas station, let alone a charging point. Building an EV-friendly infrastructure across vast, remote areas is no small feat. While cities like Vancouver and Toronto are packed with chargers, rural Canada, not so much. Then there's the climate. EV batteries don't exactly thrive in freezing temperature, and with Canadian winters, that's a real issue. Losing range because of the cold isn't great when you're trying to survive a snowstorm, but it's not all ice and frustration. The Canadian government is offering rebates and tax credits. Provinces like Quebec and British Columbia are leading the way, and charging networks are expanding. Number 13, Australia. Australia and electric vehicles are still figuring each other out. Less than 10% of new car sales are electric, which is slow compared to global leaders. Why? Geography plays a big role. Australia's vast distances and sparse charging infrastructure make EVs impractical for many, especially outside cities like Sydney and Melbourne. Then there's the late start. Until recently, Australia had minimal government incentives for EV buyers. High import costs and limited affordable options didn't help either. But things are shifting. States like New South Wales are now offering rebates, and charging networks are expanding. Australians love their powerful utes, but with better infrastructure and incentives, EVs are slowly finding their place. The road might be long, but they're getting there. Number 14, South Korea. South Korea is making some serious moves in the electric vehicle world, and it's about time. EVs are becoming more popular here, with sales growing every year. Why? Well, the government is throwing out big perks like subsidies and tax breaks to convince people to ditch gas cars. And let's not forget Hyundai and Kia. They're making some of the most competitive EVs on the market. But it's not all smooth driving. Safety concerns popped up after a few EV fires, and now the government is rushing to tighten battery safety standards. Plus, South Korea's famous battery makers, like LG and SK, are losing ground to global competitors. Still, with better charging stations popping up and innovation ramping up, South Korea is definitely on the road to becoming a big player in the EV world. Number 15, Japan. Japan, the birthplace of car giants like Toyota and Honda, has been cautious about diving into the electric vehicle game. EVs currently make up a small percentage of new car sales, but the government is pushing for change. By 2035, they aim for all new cars to be electric or hybrid. Ambitious? Yes. Achievable? We'll see. The Japanese government has rolled out subsidies and tax breaks to encourage people to go electric, but there are hurdles. Charging infrastructure is still limited, and EVs come with a higher price tag than traditional cars, which doesn't exactly scream, "buy me," to most consumers. On the bright side, Japan's automakers are ramping up their EV efforts. Toyota, for example, has plans to launch a range of electric cars in the next few years. It might be a slow start, but knowing Japan, they'll figure out how to make it work. Number 16, Italy. Italy, known for its Ferraris and Fiats, is slowly warming up to electric vehicles. While they're not zipping through the transition like some other European countries, there's progress. In 2024, EV registration started climbing, which is a step in the right direction. The government is trying to help with the Eco Bonus program, offering up to 11,000 euros if you swap your old gas guzzler for a shiny new EV. Sounds great, right? But there's a catch. The demand for EVs in Italy is still pretty low. Even Stellantis had to pause production of the electric Fiat 500 because people weren't buying enough of them. Another issue, charging station. While they're popping up more frequently, it's still not enough to ease people's concerns about running out of juice on a road trip. Italy's taking its time, but with more incentives and better infrastructure, they might just get there, slowly but stylishly. Number 17, Portugal. In 2024, EV sales are climbing fast, with around 50,000 cars expected to hit the roads by year's end. Not bad for a small country, right? The government's throwing in some serious perks to make it happen. You can get up to 4,000 euros off if you buy an electric car, and 6,000 euros for an electric van. Plus, they've already got over 100,000 EVs buzzing around, and charging stations are popping up everywhere. Number 18, Austria. Austria is carving its own path in the electric vehicle world, blending sustainability with its alpine charm. What sets Austria apart isn't just incentives or infrastructure, it's their focus on clean energy. With nearly 80% of electricity coming from renewables, charging an EV here is about as green as it gets. One unique twist, Austria's push for e-mobility goes beyond cars. The government is also heavily investing in electric buses and trucks, making public and commercial transport cleaner too. They're even working on electrifying mountain routes, so those famous alpine drives could soon be emission-free. And then there's Austria's focus on local innovation. EV adoption here is supported by homegrown projects like solar-integrated charging stations and energy-efficient grids designed specifically for e-mobility. Austria's approach might not grab headlines like Norway or China, but they're quietly creating a blueprint for EV integration that's all their own. Number 19, Switzerland. Switzerland, the land of mountains, chocolate, and now electric vehicles, is stepping into the EV game in its own unique way. The market's growing fast, with more people switching to electric every year. But here's the twist. As of 2024, Switzerland added a 4% tax on EV. Yep, no more free rides for EV buyers. So, why are people still on board? For one, Switzerland's charging network is top-notch. Companies like Ionity have installed fast chargers all over the country. So whether you're zipping through Zurich or heading up to the Alps, you're covered. Plus, with most of Switzerland's energy coming from hydroelectric power, charging your EV here is about as eco-friendly as it gets. Even with the new tax, people are sticking with EVs because it just makes sense in a country that's all about clean living and smart innovation. Number 20, Ireland. Ireland is gearing up for an electric future, but it's not without its bumps in the road. The government wants 1 million EVs on Irish road, but that feels a bit ambitious when sales have taken a recent dip in registrations in March 2024. We're down by over 40% compared to last year. Why? Partly because EV grants were cut from 5,000 euros to 3,500, which doesn't exactly scream encouragement. Still, there's hope. Ireland is rolling out ultra-fast charging points along motorways, making long-distance trips less stressful for EV drivers. And if you're a taxi driver, you can get up to 10,000 euros to switch to an electric vehicle. Not bad. Ireland's on the right track, but it's clear they need to step up with bigger incentives and better infrastructure if they want everyone to jump on the EV bandwagon. Number 21, Israel. Israel is taking steps toward an electric future, but it's a tricky road. While the government is projecting 1 in 3 cars will be electric by 2030, it's clear they've got a lot of work to do. Charging stations are popping up in more places, and the focus is on making long drives manageable for EV owners. Starting in 2024, the purchase tax on EVs is set to climb from 20% to 35%. That's a tough sell for people already hesitant about making the switch. Despite this, EV adoption is gaining momentum, with revenue in the sector growing steadily. Israel is known for innovation, and the potential for advancements in battery tech and infrastructure is huge. The question is, can they balance progress with affordability to get more drivers to go electric? Only time will tell. Number 22, New Zealand. New Zealand is quietly but steadily jumping on the electric vehicle bandwagon. As of late 2024, there are over 79,000 EVs cruising the roads, and that number's only climbing. The government's sweetening the deal with rebates. You can get up to $8,625 if you buy a new EV, or $3,450 for a used one. Starting in April 2024, EV owners will have to pay road user charge, which used to be waived. That's got some people grumbling, but the government insists it's fair. On the bright side, New Zealand's also rolling out the Clean Car Upgrade Program, which helps low and middle income families make the switch to EVs. And with a projected 9% yearly growth in the EV market, it looks like the shift is well underway. New Zealand's taking a balanced approach, offering financial support while slowly introducing costs. It's not perfect, but it's progress. And for a country that values its clean green image, it feels like a step in the right direction. Number 23. Thailand. Thailand's electric vehicle story is as much about ambition as it is about strategy. The country is positioning itself as the EV manufacturing hub of Southeast Asia, attracting major investments from automakers. One key focus: making Thailand a leader in battery production. With rich resources and government-backed initiatives, they're working towards self-sufficiency in EV batteries, aiming to reduce reliance on imports. What's interesting is Thailand's push into electric tuk-tuks and motorbike. These iconic forms of transport are being electrified, making the shift to EVs uniquely Thai. It's not just about cars, it's about changing the everyday commute for millions. Another unique twist: Thailand's focus is on exporting EVs to regional markets like Indonesia and Malaysia. By promoting Thailand-made EVs abroad, the country is creating new opportunities for its auto industry while boosting its reputation as a global player. To ensure success, they're investing in smart charging grids, enabling EVs to not only charge efficiently, but also feed power back into the grid during peak demand. And there you have it, a global tour of how countries are stepping up, or not, in the EV game. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that subscribe button and give the video a like. Now, for a quick question: which EV manufacturer is your favorite? Drop your answer in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.